It's a little after 6:21 in the morning. The sun is starting to rise, as you can see there over the horizon, and we are now moving into the middle of spring. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Fendt Farm here on GreenRiver. So what are we going to be doing today? Well, we still have a fair bit of work to get done, even though we've now kind of ploughed out and planted our main sort of crop fields. And you can see, if we pull up the map, you can see that they are still in that planting stage, so they haven't started growing yet as such. They haven't moved into sort of the shoots phase just yet. But you can see that a lot of these other fields, they do actually have their final growth stage kicking in. And you might be wondering why that is. Well, normally when I set up a map in Seasons for a Let's Play, I'll set it up outside of Seasons first of all. So I'll load a file, I'll get in all the equipment and the field allocations that I want. When I'm happy with that, I'll then turn on Seasons, and there we go. For this one, I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I got Seasons up and running right from the very beginning, and the first year, the first 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, I spent that time to get this farm up and running. And when I was happy, I went from 3 days through the spring, summer and autumn. I went to 6 days in winter to kind of clear everything off and get everything reset properly, and then we started here in spring. Now, as a result of that, what we're also seeing now as a kind of a byproduct of that is quite a lot of these fields got planted towards the end of the year. So if we look in the menu here, you can see autumn through into winter, there is a planting window there for wheat, for barley and canola. So we go back to this map and we go to fruit types. You can see there's a lot of wheat, barley and canola planted all over this map, and they're all now, well, most of them, in their final growth stage. So we're actually seeing an interesting little knock-on effect where we're going to have these fields kind of cropping, with crops growing and being ready to harvest kind of outside of our windows because they were planted at a different point. So you can see there, that's a canola field on the other side of our grass paddock just there. All those flowers, all those yellow flowers on the field there, as the crop is in its final stage. It's going to be kind of interesting, I think, to see a lot of those fields coming into fruition a lot earlier than we would normally see that. And speaking of that grass field, that's what we're going to be kicking off with first of all today. We're going to be tedding our grass field. Now, we only have the one workable piece of land for grass at the moment, and that's the one here at the farm. So we want to make sure that that's definitely fully fertilized so that we can double its yield, or at least add an extra 90%. Obviously it's not ploughed, but everything else is good, or will be good by the time we get ready to actually start working it. We do have that secondary area of grass down by the forest that we will be using later, but of course that is not a workable field at the moment, at least, so we can't weed that, we can't improve the yield on that area. Now, depending on how much grass we make this year, and we will get 2 cuts because it is a native grass field, so it did start already sort of as grass. It didn't have to be planted first and go through that initial sort of seed to growth stage. It means it will grow back in time for us to get a second cut this year. And if we get a good amount, then we'll leave it at that. But if we don't get quite as much as we want or need, or might need going forward, then what I might well do is at the end of the year, I may well sort of rip up that field or that area sort of down here in this bottom corner. I may actually plough all this up and then replant it as grass and turn it into a workable field. We'll see how we get on with our sort of our crop work this year and how much grass we can get off this field. But we definitely need to make sure that this one is fully weeded all the way up to stage 3. And you can see that the grass is now starting to grow. You can see we've got that little bit, let's get some lights on, a little bit of extra height now as we have moved into that new transition. Obviously each season is made up of 3 transitions, so each transition will last 2 days. So we've had transition 1 of spring, early spring, which was days 1 and 2, and now we're into day 3. We've transitioned into mid-spring, and then when we get to day 5 and we transition into late spring, this grass will grow another stage. So we need to crack on and make sure that this grass is definitely ready by the time summer rolls around and we are ready to actually mow it. So we will have to put on 2 more weeding stages to boost the volume of this crop, or this grass. And the last one will be when it's fully grown. So we'll weed it, and then as soon as we've done that, then we'll mow it. Now these fences, the fence along the side of the cows does have collisions, but these fences here, they don't. So if I just give you a demonstration, these fences here, this one along this side and that one there as well alongside the canola field, they don't have collisions, and they can see that this workable field goes right to the very, very edge, all the way up to the head, to the fence itself. Now obviously in the past, when we've seen that on other farms and other fields, it has caused us issues when we're either turning or if we just get a little bit too close and we're constantly catching the back of our weeder or our sprayer or whatever piece of equipment you're using, usually a mower as well, on the fence posts. We don't have to worry about that here. Now I am going to treat this field as though it does have a solid fence, so I'm not going to run with my equipment poking through it where possible. But it's nice to know that we do have that kind of safety net of a field that doesn't have, or a fence that doesn't have collisions, so we're not going to be constantly clipping it just if we're just that fraction too close. And I have to say, I kind of appreciate that, given how frustrating it can sometimes be, as we've found on seasons in the valley, when you get just a little bit too close to one of those fences because you're trying to maximize your return off the field. There's nothing more annoying than constantly just clipping when you're trying to be as close as you possibly can. Nothing more annoying than constantly clipping a fence post. We don't have to worry about that, as I say. Absolutely 0 collisions along here. So I mean, if I wanted to, I could just run like this, but it looks silly. So I'm gonna, even though the field doesn't have collisions on these fences, I'm gonna treat it as though it does. But as I say, it is nice to know that we do have that little safety buffer of a fence without collisions, just in case we do get a little bit too close. I do appreciate that. Just running up and down the field here, as you can see, making some nice vertical passes, and I do feel once again that the game is again mocking me. I've just had another great demand for canola. Obviously we got one yesterday when we were planting after about 30 seconds. Now I've just had another great demand. You can see it flashing away on the map there up at Druten, sorry. Another great demand for canola. If we don't get a single great demand when all of our crops come in, then I'll know that the game is deliberately trying to screw with me. Just finishing this side panel here of this field, you can see this gives you kind of an idea of just how big this field is. You can see how long it's taken us to get this section done here, and we've still got all of that along there to do yet. And you can see the weather's changing. We've got clouds rolling in. It's not going to rain, which is probably a first for us on this map. It hasn't. It's rained every day so far. Who knows? It might end up raining. I mean, we were supposed to have snow on days 1 and 2, and that turned into rain instead. We've got clouds rolling in now, and that could possibly change to rain as well. We never know until it actually happens. And as soon as this little stretch here is done, we're almost there. Let's get some lights on because it's getting darker again. There we go. Right, now I can move back around the corner and attack the next section of the field. So as I say, you can see this is a really, really good sized grass field. It's perfect for a big N. We'll get a lot of grass off this field, a lot of hay that we can make, potentially a lot of silage as well. find my next pass point. Where is it? There we go. So let's get lined up. And we'll carry on working away on this grass field. This is the last little patch of grass that needs to be done. You can see we've got an actual gap in the fence here. There's actually 5 different access points to this field here. We've got, let's see, this one here. There's another one on this side a bit further up at the other edge of the field there. There's another one all the way round the corner on that bottom main road. Sort of, well, I'll pull the map up and show you. So we've got an access point just here where we are. There's another access point just here. There's another one down here onto the main road there, and then we've got 2 access points just here. Obviously there's the one that we came in through, which is the gate that leads onto the field, and then on top of that you can also access the field by going through the old disused cow barn as well. So we can just roll open that green door there and then drive into the building and then open the door on the other side. So 5 access points to this field. It's not at all a problem getting your equipment on and off this place. And they're all pretty wide access points as well, so, oops, just got tagged by the fence there. You don't have to worry about, tight gaps, not being able to squeeze your equipment through. You will always be able to get it, on and off this field quite easily. Right, let's give this weeder a clean. We don't need this anymore. We don't need the 716. I think it's a 716, isn't it? Yes, 716. We don't need this for a little while yet now either. Not for another day or two. Once we hit the next sort of growth stage on the grass. So what do we do next? Well, all of our crops, our main crops, are sort of in the ground. I do want to put some beets on the ground. We are going to be doing some beet farming because that is another sort of one of the main crops here in the Netherlands is beets. So we will be putting beets on, and we'll be using the roper equipment on this playlist. So we'll be breaking out the Tiger and the Mouse at some point in the future once we've purchased those. The DLC, as you're watching this, the DLC is now live. I'm actually recording this the day before on Monday, so I don't have it yet. But come midnight I will have access to that DLC, and I will be recording a special look at the Roper DLC and seeing the equipment in action, or at least the beet harvesting equipment in action on Big Bud Farm, which will go out on Wednesday in place of American Midwest, because I do have a pretty good sized beet field that's been ready and waiting to be harvested for the last couple of weeks, all kind of prepped and ready. So on Wednesday you will be able to see me using that equipment. And I would like to look at the possibility of doing potatoes on this map as well, so we may end up using the potato equipment as well in the future. We'll see how we go with the beet equipment first. Obviously we already have a planter that is beet capable. That's our 12 meter Maestro. We don't have a potato harvester or a potato planter or a topper, so that's 3 separate pieces of equipment that we're going to need. There we go. So that's the 716 away. So what else can we do? Well, I don't think we can plant beets yet. Let's see. Oh, we are in the planting window, so we could put some beets down. Now, our beet field is going to be field 11. Yeah, let's put some beets in the ground on field 11, get them started. And the great thing about beets is it doesn't matter how wet your climate is, because you can harvest beets in the rain. You don't have to worry about crops drying out. Beets are an all-weather crop, so if it's raining, it doesn't matter. Same with potatoes as well. Doesn't matter if it's raining or not, you can just harvest that as soon as it's ready, kind of thing. So we'll get some beets planted, and then if we get time today, we'll probably make a start on ploughing out one of our cornfields. or we might just save the ploughing for tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure yet. You see all of our fields look still that sort of brown planted texture. Nothing growing yet. That should hopefully kick in maybe tomorrow, if not certainly the day after. There we go. Open the gate. Park in my little VIP spot. First spot on the lot there, reserved for me. So we're going to need, what's the horsepower requirements of the Maestro? I haven't used the 12 meter before, so let's see if we can figure out which of our tractors we're going to need to use. Scroll through. 220 horsepower, so we can use any of our tractors, you know, up here. The smallest one we have is a 260 horsepower, so I think we'll use that. You know, it is Fendt farm. We should really be using, you know, something green a little bit more often. I think obviously our two most powerful tractors are black and grey, so not your kind of traditional Fendt colour scheme, but yeah, we'll use the 826. I think we're going to use the 828 a lot for ploughing. So let's hook up to the Maestro. There we go. Let's change the crop type to beets. There we go. Roll back the covers. That first pit's going to be for fertiliser, I think. Yeah, you can see seed is going into the back panel just there. Can't really see it very well, but it is in there. And then this front one, this will be for our fertiliser. Huge fertiliser bay on the Maestros. It's like 7,000 litres, I think. And now you can actually see the white there coming up through the grating. And that'll be enough. We don't need to completely fill this thing. So let's make our way over to field 11. Let's close the cover. Let's get the lights on and our beacons on as well. Nice little trip around the farm here. We're going to go around that corner at the top there towards the cell point actually that's flashing away. Obviously that's a little bit further round, but field 11 there opposite the pig farm, or to the side of the pig farm. That's our target location. We've got the access point just coming up here. There we go. Right, so yeah, I'm looking forward to using this Maestro. I haven't used this before. Oh, and yeah, we need to cultivate this field, don't we? I forgot about that. Okay. Alright, well, we're going to park up just here. I'm going to run back to the farm. I'm going to grab our 939, and I think it's the Joker that we're using. Let's just double check which of the cultivators it actually is. There's two 12-meter cultivators from Horsch. Is it the Joker or the Cruiser that we have? It's the Joker. The Cruiser, 500 horsepower for 12 meters. The 12.2 meters for the Joker. It's bigger and requires much less horsepower. But 360 is beyond the capabilities of even our 280 or our 828. So we'll need the 939 for this. So I'll be back in just a second with the 939 and the Joker. Okay, so we are at the field. Let's unfold the Joker. And we'll get this field cultivated before we start planting. Obviously we can plant on, you know, freshly ploughed fields, but I don't like to do that unless it's a direct drill seeder. It kind of takes you out the moment a little bit. Obviously the gameplay mechanics will allow it, but it's, like I said, in real life you wouldn't, unless you had a direct drill, you wouldn't, plough your field and then just drive straight over that with a seeder. In fact, I think possibly in some cases, even with a direct drill seeder, you would maybe cultivate the field after it's been ploughed before you would seed it. I do know that obviously the direct driller means that you don't need to cultivate a field. Once you're removing kind of like the stubble from a previous harvest, you can get that done. Oh, we need to get rid of those trees, don't we? Forgot all about that. Yeah, we'll cultivate this field and then we'll take this back. This is what I was worried about. We're going to get rid of those 4 trees there. We're going to get rid of all 4 of them. I'm really struggling to control this cultivator. I'm not sure if it's a problem with the weight properties of it or if it's just because of the way the wheels work. Here you can see they're pivoting. This is proving to be a task and a half, just trying to get this thing lined up for the second pass. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get. So yeah, we'll cultivate this field, then we'll come back, we'll chop those trees down because they're just going to cause all sorts of issues for us at every stage. Cultivating, ploughing, seeding, fertilising, harvesting. They're all going to be problematic because of how close they are to the corner of the field there. So we'll cut them all down. We'll use our flatbed to transport those to the lumber mill. We'll cut them into logs. We'll need to bring probably our favourite up from the animals so that we can load them. Or we could actually potentially go and get the Liebherr telehandler and bring that over. Yeah, let's do that instead. So we'll cut the trees down, we'll get them loaded onto the back of the low loader, we'll take them over to the sawmill, sell those off, get a little bit of extra cash, which is always a good thing. And then we can actually seed this without any issues whatsoever. There is something ever so slightly off about the weight characteristics of this cultivator here. It's a little awkward when it comes to turning. It might not show me because I'm reversing this time because of those trees, but as I turn, it normally spins the back end of the tractor around quite violently. It's not showing it at the moment here, as you can see, but when I get to the end of this next pass, you'll see that the whole back end, as I turn the corner and start to realign the cultivator, it'll spin the back of the tractor quite violently. I think we may possibly have to replace this Joker. It's just a little bit too, I don't know, something wrong with the weight characteristics, I think. Or maybe it's just not a particularly suitable tractor for it. Maybe we need something a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. Unfortunately, this is the biggest and heaviest Fendt that we can have, and shoving more weight on the front is not going to help us. The problem is the rear. That's where the issue is, and I don't know whether fitting a weight at the rear is going to cause issues with our hitch there. So I think we're kind of stuck like this. You'll see, here we go, we've got to the end of this pass. So if I raise the cultivator, now I can turn, and I'm keeping the speed relatively controlled. And then as I start to straighten up, it's actually well behaved this time, but normally it's been spinning the back of my tractor around. I'll keep an eye out for it, and if I see it happen again, I'll put some footage up so you can see it happening. But running out of foot space left on the field now. It's almost done, so once this is done, we'll be attacking those trees over there in the corner. There, just like that. That's exactly what I was talking about there. It just suddenly picked up the rear of the tractor and spun it really violently. And I've been having that issue all the way along this field. So, yeah, I've tried to be as careful as I can, but it does keep catching me, and I'm starting to wonder whether maybe we need to say goodbye to the Joker and get something a little bit different. I'll have a think about it. So here we are then, back at the field. You can see, oh, I've left my tractor lights on. Let's quickly turn those off, don't want to have a flat battery. There we go. The truck is already at the other end of the field. Ready for us to load the logs onto. I've had to go and purchase a chainsaw and obviously a log claw for this telehandler as well. But we're going to cut those trees down, we're going to strip them down. Chop them up into nice easy to carry pieces or easy to lift pieces, load them into the back of our flatbed here, and then run those over to the sawmill. So let's start cutting these trees down here. So chainsaw out, using a Husqvarna chainsaw this time. I like to mix them up a little bit from time to time instead of using the same one each time. There we go, that's the first one done. I'm going to have to drive the truck alongside as well so I can make sure that the logs are going to fit. I don't want to make them too long or just make them way too short. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to strap them down either. I haven't used this before, so this truck, so I don't really know how good it's going to be. The one thing I am a little disappointed in with this truck is the fact that you can't manually take the sides of the truck down, or at least if you can, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. They only do that when you tip, and this would have been such a more useful truck if you could manually lower down the sides to load onto it with pallets or logs or whatever you wanted to, but that feature doesn't seem to be available, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure why. And oh, we need to do something about those stumps as well. We're going to need to lease a stump grinder. I didn't even think about the stumps. There we go. One more tree to go. It's quite a thick looking trunk actually, this one. These trees could be worth quite a bit of cash, which would be good because we've actually spent a fair bit today. Buying a new log claw, certainly, cost us what, $3,500 for one of those, another grand for the chainsaw, the money for our seed and fertilizer. We've had to dip into our loan again, so if we can recoup some of that money, that'll always be a welcome thing. So let me back up against this log here. There we go. This is going to be my guide log, so if I cut just a little bit shorter than the trailer. There we go, so I can now move this truck out of the way. I'm going to use the telehandler to pick up this first log and then use that as a guide for cutting the rest of the logs. So what I need to do first of all is try and get the rest of these trees in some kind of easy to work order. Get them kind of lined up a little bit. It's not the strongest of claws, this, but it should be strong enough for me to do what I need to do, which is at least try and get these lined up a bit like that. And this way I can cut multiple logs all at the same time. You can see how big these trees are. I need to change my steering as well. There we go. I like to switch it to standard sort of two-wheel steering, as you know, as if it were a road car. When I'm driving on the roads, I just find it easier to be able to take the corners a little bit faster with a shallower turning arc than with this very tight four-wheel steering, which is great for moving around in tight spaces, but when you're moving at speed, it means you end up kind of pivoting around a little bit, which is always a bit of a tricky thing. Let's clamp down on that best I can, at any rate. Lower that, push these together. There we go. And now I just need to nudge those two further forward a little bit. Perfect. Excellent. So now I can pick up my... Oops! Ooh! Big bump there from that stump there. Now I can use this log here as a guide to make sure that I cut all my logs to pretty much the right size, so that they will all... Ooh! They will all fit. So let's twist. Let's just loosen the claw. There we go. Clamp down on it. Hopefully that'll stay still and won't wobble around too much. Seems to be alright. There we go. And now you can see I've got my guide piece just here, so I can see where I need to make my cuts. So they need to be about here. So now I can cut all of these logs straight down, move the log handler, do the same, the telehandler, move it down a bit, line the logs up again and do the same, and do that all the way down the trees until I have a nice big pile of equally cut logs. So I'm going to carry on with this and I'll see you in just a second. Alright, so the logs are cut. If I've cut these right, I'm starting to worry that maybe this is actually a little bit longer than it should be. Then... Oh, it is, look. Oh, nuts. Whoops. Okay, well this one is a little bit too big. Let me try some of the pieces that I've cut. They should hopefully be a little bit smaller. Otherwise I've just completely screwed this up. I might have to go and trim a section off the edge of each of these logs here. I've never been a massive fan of this claw. It's always been a little bit glitchy for me, but Yeah, it's better than nothing, I suppose. Does make it very awkward to keep proper control of the logs, though. You can see it's now rolling outside of the claw. Ugh, yeah, well, let's try this again from a better angle. There we go. Now I've got it flat on the ground. I need to pull that in, otherwise it's going to be too much weight at the front. Alright, please fit. Please tell me I haven't cut all of these just that little bit too long. There we go, that one's going to fit. Excellent. So I was getting a little worried. Now, can I strap that down? That's the next question. No, I can't. There's no straps. But, yeah, we do have the sidewall, so it shouldn't be a major issue that we can't strap them down. So I'm going to carry on loading this. And once it's at a point where it's starting to get a little precarious, that's when we'll take it over to the sawmill. If we have to make a couple of trips, we have to make a couple of trips. But, you know, rather that than, you know, spilling logs all over the highway. So I will see you in just a moment. Yeah, I figure that might roll off. So this is pretty much a full trailer load. It's been quite tricky to actually load this. And I am worried that these logs are going to slide around a bit as we move. I did have that issue of accidentally cutting them a little bit too long, so those top logs, as you can see there, they're not actually properly inside the trailer, actually balancing over the back edge a little bit, or the front edge in some cases. So I'm going to have to be careful and slow down for these corners, because the truck, you know, does have quite, you know, sharp steering, especially if you're going at speed, and we can't secure these logs. You know, they just roll around inside the container, so we go a little bit too fast and a log is going to make a desperate bid for freedom off the side wall, or if I slam the accelerator on too hard or slam the brakes on too hard, then that's going to dislodge the logs as well. So let's make our way over to the sawmill. We'll go drop these logs off. We'll go back, we'll load up, get a second load in. I'm going to need, as I say, to lease a stump grinder as well to get rid of those stumps. And then we can actually put our beets in the field. This is our turn coming up, so I need to gradually start to slow down a bit. I don't want to overdo it, and I need to be really careful on this turn. This is quite a tight turn, so I realised that in cab I can't actually see what's going on with the log stack. I don't think I've lost any, but just to be on the safe side, I think we'll stick to exterior driving when we're carrying logs like this. You can see, look, they are rolling around a bit. It's definitely not ideal. And here we go, here is the sell point. So I should be able to just tip these straight in there. So I need to open up the help box and tip side left. Okay, so that sidewall going to cause an issue? Nope, they're sliding through. Excellent. So there we go. Fantastic. We sold some logs and we've actually made 17 grand. Very nice. Or just under. So let's go back and get the next load. And that, hopefully, because they're mainly the thinner pieces of the trees that are left over, we should be able to get all of that that's remaining on the field into the trailer. Let's go this way instead. This might be a little bit quicker. Okay, so as you can see, this one's a little bit too long as well, so I'm going to just trim the edges off. There we go. So I'll need to do that on all my other pieces over here as well, just to make sure that they all fit. We can sell the little bits loose afterwards, that's not an issue. There we go, so let's grab that bit, let's move that out of the way. Right, that's 3 more I can get in there with no issues whatsoever. And the final piece is our guide log, the one that has caused us all the issues by me measuring it slightly inaccurately and cutting everything to the wrong size. Most of the logs that we've loaded actually have fit in this second section here, because I did cut those a little bit shorter. haven't had to trim any of the logs just yet, but this one's going to need a slight trim, and so are the last couple that I loaded in as well. So let's climb into the back. Now these thin spindly bits are probably just going to disappear just like that, as you saw. That chunk there won't. Oh, it did, I think. Or has it fallen somewhere else? I don't know. Let's cut these bits just here. Now if they're disappearing, it means they're not worth anything, so you know, if they disappear, I don't mind. There we go. Yeah, it looks like that thin slice I did cut did disappear. Okay, so let's get these 3 leftover pieces of logs. Yep, they're all in there. Excellent. Engine off. So let's go dump the rest of these logs. And then we can actually get on with seeding away on this field. So the logs are sold. I'm taking the telehandler back to the BGA, and what I've also done is install a wash plant with some of the money that we made. We ended up with just over a little over 29,000. Let's take the other entrance. There we go. So what I've done is I've actually installed a wash plant on one of the entrances to the BGA, because we don't actually have a way to clean our equipment up here, so I figured it would make sense to have one up here that we could actually activate. Now I haven't used this yet, but I'm guessing it's just a case of, yeah, there we go, just the same as a standard pressure washer that we mount. You just walk up to it, press L3, and you collect your hose. Nice and simple, nice and straightforward, but you actually have a sort of a placeable bay rather than just a little unit that you plonk on the floor. I just think, you know, it's a nice little addition to our BGA up here to have that proper wash plant. And of course it'll give us a way to clean off the equipment that is going to get absolutely filthy over the course of its use. So let's drop the log claw off. There we go. And change the steering. And there we go. Engine off, beacon off. Excellent. Right, time to go pick up a stump grinder. Alright, there we go. So, I'm just going to quickly detach this so that I can do this. There we go. So, if I reattach now... I do love this feature. It's obviously a standard feature on the Valtras. It's also standard on the 900 Varios, but these modded 800 Varios have it as well. I do love the ability to just kind of reverse my driving position like this. Where is that stump? There we go. Now it's grinding. And the last one. Fantastic. There we go. Oh, still a little bit left by the look of it. Awesome. All gone. So we have got rid of all four. Let's turn that off. Got rid of all four of those logs, or those trees. They are no longer there. It feels weird seeing that out the back window. They're all gone. The stumps are now grinded up. We've sold the logs. We've made a little bit of cash. Let's drop that off. Let's change driving position again. That's so cool. Even better when you're doing it in cab. So it's finally time for us to start seeding some beets into this field. Let me turn off the beacons. Unfold. Now, I haven't used this 12 meter maestro before, so I'm hoping we're not going to have any issues with it, but it should run nice and smoothly. This is a definite upgrade where on the 9 meter, whereas the Evo is more of a sidestep than an upgrade to the Pronto. This is very much an upgrade over the other Maestro. I think I'm pretty sure it runs at a higher operating speed, at the same operating speed. Sorry, so. I might be wrong about that, actually. I suppose I better check. Having just said that, let's double check. So the standard Maestro runs at 9 miles an hour, as you can see, and obviously we know that this one runs at 9 because I am currently running at 9. There you go. So same size tank, just same operating speed, but a wider, working width, 12 meters instead of 9. So very much a definite upgrade. Not a huge upgrade in terms of the amount of power needed to operate it either. Just obviously it's a fair bit more expensive. But now look at this, we can go all the way up here. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. And that's, not just important for our seeding, but also for when we come to fertilise this crop, especially when we come to use the Roper Tiger on here as well. That's going to cause us all sorts of issues if we don't have space to actually make those turns. Because it's a long old piece of equipment, the Tiger. Needs a good little bit of room for turning. And there we go. We are finally getting this crop into the ground. So it might not seem like we've actually accomplished that much today. I mean, we've weeded a big grass field. We've come and cultivated this field. We've cut down the trees, ground out the stumps, sold the logs, installed the wash plants, and now we're seeding it. So it's not bad. It's not a bad effort for the day. It means that we can save the ploughing for tomorrow, and that'll give us 2 fields to plough tomorrow, and then day 5 we can actually start planting the corn, and anything else that we need to get planted can be done there as well. I think all of our fields are done now, so I don't think there's any other land that we can work other than our 2 cornfields. And as I say, their planting window opens up on day 5, so we're still a couple of days away from that. But tomorrow we'll be breaking out the 828. We'll just do some single tractor ploughing, I think, rather than running 2 tractors. Save a little bit of money. Oh, speaking of, the money that we made once we activated our sort of community area yesterday, we pulled in around about 2,000 at the end of the day for those greenhouses. Now, that wasn't a full day, so hopefully we can get, you know, somewhere between 3 and 4 for a full day. Possibly even more than that. I can't remember exactly what time of the day it was when we actually set that area up. If it was in the afternoon, then we could get more than 4 grand. We could get maybe close to 5. Now, our vehicle operating costs on their own are over 5 grand at the moment, so it looks as though we could at least manage the expenses of our vehicles, maybe even potentially make a little bit more than the vehicles themselves. Now that'll help because obviously we've got annual upkeep costs on top of that as well, and we've got some property costs that we need to pay for various different placeables, etc. But you know, now that that community area is up and running, our finances should be a little bit healthier going forward, so looking forward to that. I'm going to plough ahead and continue seeding this field. I will catch up with you once we've made a bit more progress. So we're going to have one thin little strip here on the edge of the field to do after this pass here, and then we are done seeding our beets. So that, I think, is the last of our crop fields that needs to be planted. We've already planted 10 and 22 because they're linked together now. We've planted 20. Oh no, we haven't planted field 20. So we need to do something on field 20. I'm not quite sure what we'll do yet. I'll think about that, and that will be something that we can do tomorrow once we've finished ploughing. What crop shall we go with? Trying to keep the crops kind of as close to sort of the genuine crops in the Netherlands as possible. So you know, beet, barley, wheat, those 3 crops are pretty prominent. Another major crop in the Netherlands is triticale, and of course we can't do that on consoles, so I kind of been using canola as a substitute. We suppose we could do perhaps another canola field, but I don't know. Maybe we could do something else instead. I don't really want to fall back on the using soybean too much if I can get away with it, but we'll see. But this is it. This is the very last thing that we're going to do today. After this, I'm just going to drive the equipment back to the farm and wash it and put it away and then turn in for the night. So we are done with day 3 here on GreenRiver. And there we go. That is it. So I'm going to, as I say, wash the equipment, put it away, turn in for the night. And now I'm going to sort of start gearing up to do some pure farming. That game is now officially out as you watch this. I was lucky enough to be given a preview copy or a full review copy a day before, so it's Monday afternoon as I'm recording this. I've just finished recording now. I'm going to go and get something to eat. I'm going to do a couple of little jobs that I need to get done, and then I'm going to be live streaming pure farming, and we will be doing actual sort of recorded footage for the channel over the next couple of months as well. So plenty of pure farming content coming up on the channel very, very soon. Obviously the first look, which was a live stream, is already available on the channel. Please do feel free to check that out, and I will look forward to seeing you again back on Fendt Farm very soon.